That's right. So now, just we will continue from that uh, last class where we have that SharePoint triggers and actions, right? So we will see further actions. What are the actions we have inside the SharePoint connector? So let's start with get changes for an item or file. So wherever we have item that refers to a SharePoint list item, wherever we have a file that refers to a document library item. Okay. In SharePoint, we have list and libraries. So the library, we will call it as file here. List, we are calling it as item. So inside the list, every row is an item. Inside a document library, every row is a file. In order to get the changes, so example, get changes in the sense, um, we do have a version history enabled in the SharePoint. Okay, let me show you that. So this is one of the SharePoint list. This will be available for document library as well. So example, for this particular item, if I want to track the version history, I can click on this, I can select the item. Um, okay, so if I scroll down there, okay, so here you can able to see the version history. If I click on this, you can able to see all the versions. We have option to manage this version, like how many versions you have to maintain, because this will consume memory in SharePoint side quota. Okay. Um, so rather than tracking all the versions for a particular item, we can restrict the number of versions for an item so that the latest number of versions will be available for each item in the SharePoint list. Okay. Is that clear?
Yeah. So here it is a library. So one row is file, right?
This is this is a list. This is a list. Okay. You cannot,
List.
yeah, you will not see file over here. In the list item, you can have attachments. That is a different one. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So here, just we saw we have version history. So we have to enable this. If we don't want, we can disable this as well. Here, this is enabled. So that's why we can see the version history of this particular item, when it was modified, by whom it was modified, what are all the columns it got affected with that particular version. So everything we can able to get those information. So if I want to track those informations in the Power Automate flow, we can go to Power Automate and then we can use the get changes for an item or file. So which is applicable for list as well as for the library. So I'm going to select my site. I will select list here. You can also select the library as well. Here it is asking as the ID. So let me do um, here I'm having 42. So I will say 42, or we can pass the dynamic information as well, dynamic content. Here, okay. Here, I'm having an item or file is modified. We will come to that later. But here, just we are concentrating only on this particular action. Here I have given the hard-coded ID 42. And next one is also a mandatory field here, since. So we need to get from which versions, whether I have to get from the version 1 or the very latest version, or also you can give the date as well. The date has to be in this particular format. So if you are giving that particular date, then what are the versions we are having of prior from that date, right? We can able to track all those versions. So if I want to get the immediate last version, then what I can do, I can go to dynamic content, I can go to expression. So what I have to do, I have to subtract the current version minus one. So for which what I will do, I will do which in the sense subtract function, and then I will say int, which is nothing but I have to pass the number, that is the version history. So I will go to dynamic content. Um, I will click on here. I will go to dynamic content. We will be having versions. Okay. So here to this above, sorry, above trigger condition, right? Here I'm using when an item or file is modified. Here this is applicable for uh, list as well as the library. So here I have selected the list. What I will do, I will not hot code this. I will right away select that particular ID. I will select the ID. Here, since I will use subtract int in this, I will search for the version number. Okay. So here we have the version number, the latest current version number. You'll be having the current version number over here. So what I will do, I will go to P code. Since I'm having this, right, I will copy this as I want to use this inside the formula. I will do like this. Int. Okay. This one is not required. So we are converting this into an to make sure like we are converting this to an integer, and then I'm subtracting one value to this. Okay. So this is our formula, PowerFX formula. Let me save this. Then I will go ahead and I will change this item. So I have saved this. Let me go to run history. This will take some time. What I will do, I will do a test from here as well. With the latest well, okay. So here let's explore. Okay, so the here ID is 3. I'm using ID 3. I will go here. I will just search for the ID 3. Sorry, I think there is some confusion here. Let me delete this. I will add a property trigger. When an item is created on method. So it didn't change. So it automatically reflecting to the Power Automate flow. You can see I have edited this item. The ID for this item is 1. So I will be seeing that ID as 1 over here. You can see the ID is 1 and since 17. So let's just explore the version history of this particular item. I'm having, as I have updated this, there is a 18th version. But previous to that, is the 17th version. So as we have subtracted 1 with the current version, so that's the reason why you can see since as 17 here. If I just scroll down, you can able to see the outputs here. If you explore this outputs, here we are having some informations. It is saying the metadata information about the versions, and below to that, this is our actual output. If you see, we have this object, the property named as column has changed. Here we will not able to get the what are all the columns got changed, what is the old and new value, we will not able to get those informations. Whereas in that, like, we will be getting this information like whether this column is changed or not. That's the only thing, whether the true or false. Only the Boolean value we can able to see whether the particular column got affected or it was not affected. So we will be getting only those informations as I have changed only the description field. So automatically you can see the description field, you can see it as a true. Okay. So easily you can come to a conclusion. What are all the columns got affected based on this trigger? So as this here I have used when an item is created or modified. Um, so here something is modified. By using this get changes, we can able to figure it out. What are all the columns got modified? If we want to get what is the old value and what's the new value, then we need to run a REST API URL. We have to call the get method of by using the REST API URL. So far, any doubts? Is that clear, or do you want to repeat it?
Please repeat it once.
Yeah. So here I want to understand what are all the columns got affected with the latest update. So example, if someone has modifying the status column, it's going to affect the entire that particular request. Okay, here I'm having support request. If by mistake someone has modified this, then we have to notify it to a appropriate team. Okay. So for that we have to first know whether the status column has affected or not, whether it is changed or not. We have to track those information. In order to do that, what we have to do, we have to identify the previous version. So here I have updated this. Then my current version will be automatically updated. How I can able to compare? I have to compare it with the previous version. So I'm going back to the previous version. Here the since, right? Since I'm passing the previous version for that particular item. So I will be receiving an output, something like what are all the columns got affected on that particular version. So as example here, in this version, right? In this version, these are all the columns got affected. Say example, has column changed. This will be the outcome. For each column, if I have 20 columns in the SharePoint list, then all the 20 columns will be listed over here. And it will say yes or no, whether that column value got changed or not. So the title, I have not changed the title, so you can see it as no. I have only changed the description column. So that's the reason why you can see this as S. Okay. If you have 20 columns, you will be able to see all the 20 columns. If you have changed all the 20 columns, you will say all the 20 columns value as S. Okay. Is that clear, or still confusion?
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to get the old value and new value, what we have to do, we don't have any out of box action, inbuilt action available for the SharePoint connector. In order to get that, for example, if I use a HTTP request, okay, you can see HTTP request is a premium connector, but SharePoint is a standard connector. If you want to perform any HTTP request, REST API URL, REST API URL which supports inbuilt with the SharePoint. Okay, we don't have to build any of those things. Just simply we can build a URL and then we can use as it is. If you want to perform any CRUD thread operations with the SharePoint list or libraries or throughout the SharePoint site, you can do anything with the REST API URL. Okay, but here the HTTP connector is a premium connector. Okay. But if you want to use the SharePoint REST API URL, then you can use the HTTP uh, action, which is available inbuilt for SharePoint. This is not a premium action. So we can use this standard action to perform REST API operations um, within SharePoint site. Okay. So here in this case, I want to retrieve some version information. Okay. Here in this case, I want to retrieve this particular details, right? For which what I will be doing, I will go and select the SharePoint site. Here I can do any of this methods, like I can use get, or I can use post or put for update or delete. We can do that as well if you want to do that with the REST API URL. Okay. Next one, I'm going to use my REST. I am going to add my REST API URL, which starts with underscore API web list get by title. So here we will be pausing the list name. So I will go and copy my list name slash items of the ID. So for the ID, I'll be using the dynamic. I have to pause the ID from that item is created or modified from that particular condition. I'm just getting the ID slash versions of the version number. This is also a dynamic content. I will be getting the version number. Okay. So I will explain you just a bit about more detail about this URL. So just before that, let me let me test with the latest trigger. So every time it's not required to make modifications. So just I have already done the modification. So just I'm using the same instance of that modification by the test by selecting the recently used trigger. Okay, it is having some error. Input string was not in the correct format. Let me add it in the compose. Let's see the output and then we will decide on that. Okay. Sorry, I have passed the wrong version number. Version number should be 70. So if you want to test this, what we can do it like this. Okay, let me come back to that later. Just before that, I will give a quick intro of about the REST API URL. So with REST API URL, what we will be doing, we have to build, just we will be generating the URL based on our function, whether it is a get, put, or post function. So whenever we are getting some information from a SharePoint list or document library, we will be generating the URL something like this. Always it will be starts with underscore API slash um, slash web slash list. So here I'm denoting, I'm going to get the informations from the SharePoint list and then get by title. Here we can use get by title or also get by ID. If I say ID, each SharePoint list will have some GUID. ID. So that is the ID we have to use over here. This will be the ID. Okay. So this will be the ID for that particular list. And then if I want to use title, I can directly use the title and then I can mention the list name slash items as I want to get the item information, items from that particular list. Then I can use items. Items of whether I have to retrieve all the items from the particular list or specific item. Here, ID is the only primary key in the SharePoint list. So I'm passing ID slash versions, whether I want to retrieve all the versions or a particular version. So I'm passing the version details. So this has to retrieve the information, but I'm having some issues. So in the next classes, I will fix it and then we will continue with that. So for now, I will go and use the next actions. So our next action is get files properties only. Okay. As I told you, whenever we are using a library, that we will be storing a documents, right? Here in SharePoint list, we will be storing a like data and metadata. In the data, we can also able to upload an attachments. But here in library, we will be uploading only the documents. But for that particular document, we can have the data or metadata. Whenever I say data, you can able to add any columns, like how you'll be doing in the SharePoint list, right? Same way, here you can able to upload any, you can create any data types, any data type columns. Um, if you are retrieving the information, you will be able to retrieve the um, document, the file, right? Here, the primary information is the document. If you want to retrieve any item, you will be receiving the document. But in case if we want to retrieve any other column, say example for this document, I can say um, some tag. I can have some tag as well. Okay, or I can say department. This document is for which department? Okay, so this is a additional column inside a document library. So this is similar to a file explorer. Okay, so how we are storing the documents in our local machine, right? In local machine, directly will be storing the documents. But here in SharePoint, we can store the documents and also we can have the metadata information about the document. So that is the purpose of having the columns inside the document library. If in case I want to retrieve this column informations, then what I can do, I can go back to the flow. I can use get files properties only. So here I will not able to get the document information, but rather than getting the document information, I will be accessing all the column values for that particular document. So let me go and select the site demo library. So notice here, you will not able to see any custom list. You will be seeing only the document libraries, whatever we have inside this particular SharePoint site. Whether I want to restrict this files only on a particular folder. So example here, in this library, I am having multiple folders. I want to get the informations only within that particular folder, or I can able to get all the information from the document library. So for now, just I will use all. And then whether I need nested items, which means here I'm having a folder in SharePoint document library. How it behaves like folder is also having an ID. Okay, this is simply a folder. It's not a document at all. Inside this folder, we can upload any documents, but the folder itself will behave as an item. So that's the reason you can see the ID is allocated to folder as well. So if you are going to create a folder or document, whatever it is, everything will be considered as an item in the document library. Likewise, for the custom list also, it's the same behavior. So whenever we are creating an item, whenever we are creating a folder, that itself is an item. So whether I want to include the nested items in that sense, here this is considered as an item, right? Whether I want to get the informations inside this folder. For example, here I'm having again the folder. Inside that folder, I can have documents, or inside this direct for in this folder itself, I have the document. Whether I want to retrieve only the folder or all the documents inside the folder. So if I say yes, then I can able to retrieve all the information from the document library, whether it is a folder or it's a inside the folder we have an item, we can also able to get those informations as well. So let's explore this. Here just I have included the input as include nested items. If I see output, you can able to see all the item related informations. All the item related in the sense, all the metadata informations. Metadata means what are all the columns we have other than the document column, what are all the properties we have inside this document library. I can able to access this. If you see here, I have okay. So I'm having some multiple properties or multiple columns in all the items, right? I'm having some, say example, what I will do, I will say edit properties. Okay. So here you can able to see all the properties, right? That is what we will call it as get files properties. Example here, I'm saying HR or IT admin. If I run this once again, 32. Okay, meanwhile, just let me explain all of this properties over here. Whether we can include a nested items, I can say yes. And then whether you want to filter on a particular item or some set of particular items. Here, what we have to do, here we have to use the OData filter query, which is nothing but in the REST API URL, we can also use a filter. The same kind of filter query, we have to use it here as well. If I want to filter ID, EQ, 32, I can do that as well. So that rather than retrieving all the information from that particular document library, I will be getting only the ID which is equals 32. So this is the format. So we will be having an internal name for all the SharePoint columns. We have to use that. And then EQ denotes which is equal to, and NE denotes which is not equals to, and GE like that less than, greater than. We have different operators. So we will be using the short term for all the operators. We have set of standards we have to follow, and you can have and or condition as well. And here by default, the order will be in an ascending order. If I say any column, if I am retrieving multiple informations, the order will be in ascending order, or if I want, I can say descending as well. So here, right, we'll go and do the ascending order for this particular ID column and top count. Here in SharePoint, and this every actions in the SharePoint, in the Power Automate for SharePoint, it will retrieve only the 100 items. Okay. And also in SharePoint list or library, we have a threshold of 5,000 items. Okay. In order to overcome that, we can say top count. Whether if I'm saying here, if I say department equals HR, if I'm having 100 or 200 items, I want to retrieve only the top 100 items based on this particular sorting. Then here I can say 100 items. So even if I have 10 items, I can see the 10 items, but the maximum count will be the 100 items. Even if we have more than 100 items, I will be receiving only the top 100 items based on this sorting. Okay. So here you can able to see we have so this particular output is retrieved only the um 32 item. Okay, so here you can see I have filtered using OData query with ID equals 32. So that's the reason why you can able to see the single output. You can see we don't have any other informations existing as part of this output, and you can able to access all the metadata columns. So example here, I'm having the department column. I have mentioned IT admin. I can able to see all the columns, not only the particular column, all the columns. I have restricted that to a all documents view. So whatever the items as part of this view, I'm retrieving that. Okay. Any doubts on this particular action? I will tell you that REST API URL, how we have to use, how to build for basic operations, at least for the read operation in the next class. So it will be easy for you to understand how to use the filter, sorting, because what are all the actions we are going to see, everything which is related to the REST API or the OData um, query only. Okay. But just for now, just stick to this particular um, filter condition. Wherever I'm using this kind of EQ with the internal name, that is a OData filter query. And order by, we can also perform order by, that is a sorting. So just stick to that. In the next class, I will clearly explain what are all the REST API for URLs for getting the data. Any doubts? Do you want to summarize this?
No, no doubts.
Okay. How about Luca? Is that fine?
Yeah, yeah, all good. Thank you.
Okay. So we will see one more action here. Let me, okay, let me compare this with get file. Okay. We have get files properties only, and we have get file properties. Okay. Let's explore what we have in the get file properties. In the get files, we have filter query. Okay. We have filter query, and we have nested items. We have so many options available in the get files property. You can see it's a plural name. So the outcome will be, can be a single item or can be a multiple items. But here it's a singular name, so that it will go and fetch the single item from the document library. Wherever I say file, that is a document library. Wherever I say attachment, there is a list item attachment. Okay. So don't get confused. Um, I will select the same library. ID, I can give dynamic ID or else hard-coded ID. The ID, which means here in SharePoint list or library, we'll be having an ID. So that is the unique column. It's an auto-generated column. So as I say ID, that is a single item. It refers to the single item. So I can say 32. So here I'm having limit columns by view. View in the sense, this is a view where you can create a view so that whenever the user opens this particular document library, what are all the columns they can able to access. By default, I will be having 20, 30 columns inbuilt with the SharePoint list or library. Here, I'm not showing all the columns here. So what are all the columns I want to show for the end user, right? I will be selecting it over the view. If I say edit current view, here in the screen, I will be selecting what are all the columns. I told you, right? We'll be having more than 20 columns available in build for each SharePoint list or library. If I want to add more columns, then I just simply select the columns. I can select the order and then I can click on OK. So that those columns only will be accessible for the end users if they are accessing the SharePoint URL, direct document library. So whether I have to restrict that columns inside the action. Okay, rather than retrieving all the columns from this for this particular item unnecessarily, I can create a view and then I can have what are all the necessary columns for that particular view, and then I can able to retrieve that those columns alone. Okay. Here in this case, the output for this will be similar. Only difference will be like here you see the value, right? The outcome value is an array of object, as we have a option of retrieving the multiple documents. So it will be an array of object. But here we are retrieving the same information in an object format. Here you will not see array of object. You will see only the object. Here you can see body and then object. But here you will see body. Inside that we will be having a value array. Inside the value, we will be having multiple objects. Okay, so that's the difference between the files and file action proper outcome. Any doubts on this?
No.
Okay, so likewise, we have get items and get item, and that will be similar as like get files and get file properties. So here we are playing with the document library. In case if we want to do the same operation with the custom list, then we can use get item. Okay. So in SharePoint, we have get items and get item. So if I say get item, I can able to retrieve only a single item from the list. Here we have library. Whenever say item, that denotes an list. So I can able to here if I say 42, I have the same option here. Here I will say get items. Okay, so let me save this. So here in the get item, right? Get item, I can able to see outcome as an as an object here rather than I'm seeing an array of object. Here I'm retrieving only the single item. So I can see the output as an object. And inside that object, these are all the special columns assigned to. So that again, I can see the object inside that. Okay. As like in Power Apps itself, I have covered, right? As we are having the person column in the back end, it will be stored as an object, something like this. Okay. If I scroll down in the get items, you will see the output in an array of object manner. Okay. So if I scroll down, you can see the value is an array. And here you will see multiple objects. Here till this is a first object, and here I can see the second object. Likewise, what are all the items we have inside this list, right? I can able to see access all the items. And again, if we have more than 100 items, we have to enable the pagination. There are other ways how to get more than 100 items in this action. Like we can able to get till 1 lakh items by using the get items. I will cover in the upcoming classes how to do that. But here it is in the flow checker. If you see for the get items, it is suggesting as it is not an error. It is in the warnings you have this. The reason behind that, we are trying to retrieve all the information from the list without using the filter query. So it is suggesting us to use the filter query as there may be a chance of having more than 100 items. And also it's highly recommended, even though if we don't have if you are not even cross the threshold, it's highly recommended to have the top count as well. Okay. Just you can try this out. So and let me know the next class if you have any doubts at all or if you have any issues. Okay.
Sure.